morning, everyone. Today is the last day of GEW 2020 Sri Lanka, and I welcome all for you this week. This last session, I will start my session now. Okay, so to the first talk, we are talking about introduction to computer security. So first, who am I? I am Vatsal Vishwajit. I'm undergraduate at UCSC, and I'm interested in computer security and related topics, especially blockchain. So we'll talk about security in a nutshell. So what is security? Imagine your home and you live in a neighborhood that is constantly being robbed by burglars. How would you protect your home from burglars then? Secure doors with quality locks that burglars cannot break. You could secure windows so the burglars cannot open them from outside. What about roof? Is it secure as you thought it would be? What if they dig under the ground and come to your home? Possibilities are endless. So what is security? We can say security is protecting a desired property in the presence of an attack. So far, we have talked about how a real-world property is breached. What about computers? How a digital information is secured on an electronic device? So we can say computer security is a protection of computer systems and networks from information disclosure, theft or damage to their hardware, software, or electronic data, disruption or misdirection of the services they provide. This is one such definition. From University of Pennsylvania has this kind of definition with confidentiality, integrity, and availability, commonly known as CIA triad. There are many definitions for computer security, and since this is a field where it is so common and everything is applicable to security, these definitions are different from each other. That doesn't mean they are wrong. Just as a house, in the computer security, we have both physical security and information security at hand. We have to protect both the data and the devices. We have physical security, hardware security, and finally, software security. All this to protect the information we use. So how could we protect all these aspects in computer security? Typically, the easy way to do is we take security as manageable layers so we can focus on fully. As an example, let's say you have a safe with 1 million cash on it and you need to protect it. You wouldn't leave the safe at your living room. You would likely to keep it very close to you. In this case, you thought of keeping it in your room. You would keep it in a safe inside your cupboard in your room. So if a burglar comes, he or she now has to go through all these doors and safes to get to your money. This is where the defense in depth concept comes in. You can secure your information or valuables in a layers of defenses and secure them deep enough so an intruder can simply grab them and get away. Also, if you're wise enough, you wouldn't keep all the keys to these doors in a single keyring. If you lose that single keyring, all our efforts to security will go to waste. This is what happened in Uber hack recently in September. In summary, this was what happened. We all nowadays use at least two-factor authentication for our account. If someone unknown logs into a service they are trying to access, for example, let's say Facebook, it sends a PIN code to the mobile number registered for that account. Then we put that PIN to the login screen of the account. In this example, we have 2FA request from Google. If we have If you have seen this screen, you know that without the code, there's nothing much more you can do, even if you know the password of that account. That's the defense in depth layer we are talking about. An extra code or a PIN number that keeps the attacker away from gaining access. In the Uber hack, they repeatedly requested these MFA codes and confused the Uber employee. Imagine you are that Uber employee and you have hundreds or maybe thousands of these pin messages. At some point, you're going to be tired of the buzzing of the phone. This is what happened with Uber employee as well. The attacker pretended to be an IT person on Uber and asked to approve the login from the MFA so that the messages would stop. A good example would be knocking in your rich neighbor's door at 3 a.m. to open the door. And they open the door just so they can sleep afterwards. Okay, now they have access to Uber employee account. It should be okay even if they got access, if they use good security practices on the organization level, but unfortunately not. That account had access codes for all the Uber infrastructure, something that should get in as a secret. It's like when the burglar breaks in your living room, all your other rooms are locked. But the keyring to every room is key in the living room, making it very easy to get the money from the safe. If you want to look more into this, there's a principle called least privilege, where an employee or device gets the minimum privileges it needed. Very important in securing an organization. If you don't just give the key to your big safe into janitor into a bag in a bag. So let's talk about securing a company as an example. Physical security, we can use access cards to gain entry to the premise. Doors that are locked with either key cards or biometric security. Secured floors that are monitored and especially made for sensitive information and development. But too much physical security would discourage the average user too. Let's say your company uses biometric security every 10 steps taken. No one will come to that office again after the first day. And that security system will be a waste of money. For hardware security, this is an advanced topic in security where actors use unusual hardware faults to gain access to a system, reveal encryption keys and so on. Normally, an average user is not exposed to these kind of attacks as they are highly niche and for high-profile targets. Now we have come to an important aspect of security, software security. With the internet, there's really no need for a threat actor to be on premise if it's not really necessary. With a vulnerability or a manipulation of a user, he can gain access to the system with malicious intent of gathering information, even sometimes not knowing the user's password. So it's good to get knowledge about keeping good password practices, like not doing password reusing or reusing the password for every account is like keeping your every key in a single keyring, making it if someone got an access to one account, chances are they will gain access to other accounts as well using the same password because of your bad password practices. Updating the OS and software regularly to catch up with vulnerabilities is a good practice. And not installing shady software such as cracks and keeping it will keep the integrity of the system. And most of these ransomware attacks on like personal computers would come from installing these cracked software. Also, if you're a developer of an IT company, you can help by creating secured software you can as much as possible. In communication security, this aspect do belong to the network administration personnel. What you do is you basically monitor everything in the network and flags everything suspicious. It's always better to use proactive measures rather than being reactive on an incident. So we talked about how to secure a company in very brief details. This approach can be used to secure similar institutions, even your home. You just have to go step by step, protecting the layers from known threats. Even with those measures, there are plenty of ways to get access. There's research where research access CAN bus of an airplane through in-flight Wi-Fi. This CAN bus is the one that connects navigation air traffic systems together in an airplane. A successful attacker can manipulate compass and altitude data, altitude, airspeeds, and so on. We trust those instruments in the airplane to be accurate, but if an attacker injects false data, imaging in your air and something disruptive happens. Every vehicle nowadays runs on a small-scale computer. Tesla actually has a powerful computer just as your gaming console. Problem with adding a computer into a mix with something that was traditionally worked well mechanically is making it exposed to more vulnerabilities. In addition to usual flat tires and engine breakdowns, now you will face threats like these. Uh, Hacker shows how to unlock and start a drive off with your Tesla. This is an actual problem people will face in future with this added smartness in their uses. Also, there's a 19-year-old security researcher described how he remotely had over 25 Tesla. So like in the same house I showed you before, you might like use these smart devices, smart bulbs, smart locks, smart fridges, smart door cameras, etc. You surely cannot say you are secured with these devices because let's say there are smart locks. In a power outage, they will reset the default pin code, or there will be a reset button somewhere on the lock itself to unlock because the lock itself can be unreliable. And how you know what kind of data it transmit and keep kept on your data in servers and for what purpose? Famous case for this is the Ring camera, where they partnered up with United States police, making the video feeds of thousands of homeowners available to the police, with little to no concern about privacy of the people, creating a large civilians network free of cost. Let's say you can remotely access the light of a house and turn them on and off as needed. Combine everything together and you have made your worst nightmare come true. IoT security is an upcoming field in security where we should focus on more and be aware of. These are two IT jokes here, like tech enthusiasts, they would like to gather as much as technical smart devices they can, and they can say my entire house is smart. Tech workers, on the other hand, the only piece of technology in my house is a printer, and I keep a gun next to it so I can shoot. It makes a noise I don't recognize. Because like they know the vulnerabilities and the security concerns in these IoT smart devices. So, and another job is like S in IoT stands for security. Okay. Scary thing is these attacks can be larger enough to affect more people, even killing thousands. So, attacker tried to poison Florida's city water supply. And a famous another one is Russian attacking Ukrainian power grids. These are very critical aspects in our society that need to be protected. So, how an average person or company protect themselves? As always, everything comes down to cost benefit analysis. No one is 100% secured in the industry. Even from a miracle, you are 100% secured from the threats that are available today. In the dawn, there will be new attacks that you are vulnerable. Best and wisest thing to do is wasting the attacker's time so that they give up. As a person, let's say you have 4 characters as your password. This password is breakable instantly with power of computing today. So as I said, what is the least time we can have to get an attacker to give up on us? So as an example, if you use 10 characters that are mixed with numbers, capitals, and simple letters and symbols, it would take 5 months to crack that puzzle. If you use 11 characters, same as before with capitals, symbols, and etc., it would take 34 years, a big time. Surely no one will try to if you're an ordinary citizen. But here's the thing, security is reality. If you're an ordinary person, you wouldn't and you don't have enemies, you are likely not have been hacked by anyone, even if you have 4 character instantly breakable password. Because no attacker will be interested in you. But say you're a billionaire or a president of a country, even having a password that is breakable only if they wait for 10 months, they will probably wait for 10 months just to get the password cracked because its value is dependent on the person or the company. So if you're a high level person or good company, better to take precautions because someone will see you valuable target at any given time. So you might think, how would you get started on the field? How are you the right person? Are you capable enough? I take the house example again for this. There are like many people around here watching this, and if I tell you to bring something from the living room of this house that's shown while it's totally locked down, everyone will act in a very unique way. Some will get access through the front door, some will use the windows, some will dig through the foundation. Being creative is one big qualification for being in the security field. Sometimes if you want to protect your own house from burglars, maybe the best way is to become one. Think like a burglar and see if you were one, how would you rob your own house? And protecting those uh, security gaps that you can see and like protect those, have countermeasures on those security gaps. Same logic applies for getting access to information in a system. Humans are creative species. We can't think and process gathered information, and uh, we can act in a very different ways for the same task to get the same task done. This diversity is very important in this field. So, what are the roles in computer security? We have a lot of roles in computer security space. These are like I have listed only few. We have analyst and auditor. It's a entry level role. Penetration tester, for the penetration tester, this could be physical or digital or both. In physical penetration testing, like you would do, as I said, physical security testing. So you would like uh, break into the IT company. Like you can say, like then you show like you could have accessed these information by accessing you with like it's like this. In physical testing, you go like uh, you are being outside it and you are testing, and you go into the premise and show them that this premise could be accessed even without any access cards or that kind of thing. And with social engineering and all, it's like an interesting way of um, security, interesting way of security that um, that it may that can we can show that both penetration testing could be like both physical and digital. For digital, like we would do things like plugging into the network and scanning it and testing security of the internal network. Uh, for security researcher, this is a role from academia and R&D departments in the industry. And a lot of vulnerabilities comes from this because these personnel try new things, different things, and find flaws that are in systems. Secure coding developer, for if this is for if you're being a software developer and practicing these secure coding methods will help to bring the vulnerabilities of systems down. So also we have cybersecurity architect and cybersecurity consultants, and the list goes on. There's a special role called bug bounty hunters, where you test the vulnerabilities of an application, much like trying to gain access to a locked away house. Trying, we are trying to find loopholes in the application logic. This is a role where it is little to no prior knowledge is needed, but you have to be curious and eager to learn. Also, be creative. No age restrictions are there. 10-year-olds do this and make a good side income. That's actually full-time bug bounty hunters. So where would you learn to be a bug bounty hunter? Mostly it's a self-learning process, and there are a lot of online resources like YouTube, blogs, and Web Academy. And there will be a separate talk on this later today. But what I said, like age is not restriction. This boy discovered a flaw on Instagram and made $10,000 by reporting it to Facebook, the parent company of Instagram. So age is really not a problem. So where would you like to be one? Where would you learn to be one? There are actually limitless resources and learn to bug bounty from platform like YouTube for free. Personally, I kind of follow these channels on YouTube for learning to be a bug bounty hunter. These are very small list. You could learn more by following these people and like seeing more similar channels as well. So the Cyber Mentor has interview of other bug bounty hunters and shares tips about bug hunting. Stoic also shares knowledge on bug bounty, partnering up with fellow bug bounty hunters. ICTA shares vulnerability exploitation videos in training platform like Hack the Box. Inside Page is more of a beginner-friendly channel. The content is really easily understandable. So follow along these channels and get the knowledge. We have our own YouTube channel, Bug Zero, this session will be uploaded. So make sure to check on that too. But only practice makes you perfect. So you may ask where to get practice and learn and make money. There are a lot of platforms out there, and Bug Zero is a Sri Lankan bug bounty platform that you can learn and gain experience. You can select a web application to test your skills and gain experience. So again, for the practices, let me show these are what I call Hack the Box. It's a platform where you can practice penetration testing and Linux and Windows security. This has a kind of learning curve, but it's really fun, and there are many people do this, and there are write-ups for it. So if you're a beginner, you can just read them and learn as you go. So, and we have Try Hack Me, which is beginner friendly, very beginner friendly, and they have learning paths that you can follow along. And they have a question and answer based platform, which is you could go step by step learning as things go. And they have modules that are specifically catered for the tools that we use in bug bounty and penetration testing. So if you want to learn something like cryptography, you could go and learn only that. So, and for web penetration testing, so web security, we have Web Security Academy from Portugal. They have a product called Burpsuit that bug bounty hunters used very much likely to use. So they have on they have labs on these web security aspects. That is really cool. So let's get back to our presentation. Um, so how much you can make from a being a bug bounty hunter? So it varies on your experience level and what you're looking for. So these critical bugs could make you like $1,000 to like 10,000 or 50,000. So it varies on your experience level, but and there are full-time bug bounty hunters making a living. So like if you are passionate enough and you learn a lot, you could make a lot more. So this is my end of the session. So if you have questions, you may ask now. Use the chat to ask your questions, or you could raise your hand and you can unmute. Yeah, so there's a question for like um, so there's a question for like tell us more about those YouTube channels. So I would like to go a few of those. Um, so what I mentioned, like IPSEC does the hack the box uh, testing channel. So like he does a lot of hack the box and like this platform, and he does work through. So there's a lot to learn from him, like what kind of tools that are used in this kind of CDF style test, CDF style platform, and like sometimes so these kind of penetration testing platforms are really close to like really close to like in a actual penetration testing. You could somewhat use these tools. So if you are like um, if you want to learn about using the tools and how to use tools and when to use the tools, this is like a good kind of platform, and it like shows like the way of how to use it and when to use it. Um, so this is his channel, and as you can see, like he got like for Windows and for easy uh, category. Like he got the playlist for these machines driver buff. So you could go and learn, and he talk about those things like what is it, what to use it, when to use it. For this channel from John Haben, he's beginner friendly, and he's kind of expert about he does things in try hit me platform. So like, and he does other things as well, but like he's good. Um, he's good as a beginner. You can watch his videos and learn. Even not as a beginner, like he does in many content creators are like these guys learn and share their knowledge free in YouTube. So like you could learn, go and learn. So as I said, like these are the like suggestions that after you get from going to this platform and going to this channel. So if you start from anywhere from here, like you could explore the other things as well. So that's the amazing this thing about being on YouTube and all. So this Nahamsak is good. Again, a good person to follow around. He does that interview thing too, as I said, stoic. So these people are like doing actual hacking on like HackerOne platform as well. Well, another interesting thing is like this live bug bounty recon sessions. Like they would do live hacking and bug bounty hunting on a platform on a website, and they would do it live, and you could see people asking questions, and you could see what they are doing and what are their thinking pattern. So again, like then they share tips like what their opinion about, and also this is a kind of popular video of the how what he that this guy Nahamsek is thinking about um, what is he looking for in a when he is hacking on a platform. So when he is hacking when he's testing a website, how does he go from there here to there? So this kind of like a really good way to start your bug bounty hunting. So okay, so as I said, inside a PhD, again beginner friendly, and a lot of introductions on this channel. Like as you can see, these are for introductions and choosing your first bug, finding your first bug, like and so on. A lot of how-to videos, like you could go for. And these guys are yes on Twitter as well. So Twitter is another good platform for sharing on infosec. So information security, there are a lot of people actually like infosec is mainly using Twitter as a platform. So as we use our Facebook for our day-to-day lives, like they are using that to share knowledge and for information. So when a new some really critical bug or a hack is may happen, like it will quickly come to Twitter. Like people will tweet about it if you follow the right persons. So like that. Um, okay. Really see there are these collaborations that makes it like really good for watching in your leisure time. I mean, you could just watch this and get the knowledge. So they talk about his favorite tools and a lot of things. So if you don't have any more questions, um, we will wait few minutes for questions. Also, like good way to learn about as a researcher and security researcher would be follow along like these conferences. Like they would do really good um, talks on the current research in computer security. So it's like really good way to expand your knowledge. But I and they have talks on YouTube there as well, like for Black Hat, they have their own channel. So this channel they have like really advanced but very interesting videos on current security research. So that this video is uploaded 9 now. So this is Black Hat 2021. So it's kind of like an interesting way tax from 4G and 5G mobile network. So it's interesting, and again, there are other um, what do you call conferences as well. So these conferences are besides also good. Like there are lot of like what I say is like a lot of interesting topics in the computer security. So like it's sometimes kind of overwhelming to choose like just one because there are so many, and basically everything is in here is like interesting. Cloud security, cyber warfare, fintech, like blockchain. Each topic have very unique thing like to look out for and learn from. So it sometimes it could be overwhelming with these resources. So what I suggest is like stick to little and like exhaust them and then go for another ones as you see fit.
Uh, I wish you, I think we can move on to the next session of today.
Yes.
Yeah, I will share my screen.
Okay. Thank you for listening to my session. I will pass on to Nipuna Viyasekar for the next session.
I think my screen is visible to you all.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, good morning to you all. I'm Nipuna Veerasekara from Bug Zero. Today I will be discussing about how we are approaching the web application security and how the hackers think and some kind of introduction to web application hacking. So the today's session agenda is first I will show you the Bug Zero demo for registering hackers and how to get involved with our platform. And then I will discuss about how to hack web applications using tools and some information about the hack, like some information about the web application vulnerabilities and some of the information gathered for the victim. And finally, I will demonstrate a live web application hacking so you can see how it is done in the real world. So first, let's see what is the Bug Zero work towards working with the hacker community and organization to make software secure. So I will first discuss about the registration in Bug Zero platform as a hacker, and then I will discuss about what are programs, and then I will discuss about the policies and what is zero feed, and I will discuss and show you how to submit a vulnerability report, and then I will discuss where to go from that point and how to become a better hacker and how to earn more rewards and how to get recognized as a good hacker. So without further ado, let's start. So This is our platform, Bug Zero. I will share the link so that you can register in our platform as well. A kind reminder to all the participants, if you have a question, do not wait until the end of the session. Please raise your hand, or you can enter the message in the chat. I can see it. So when you go to our platform Bug Zero, you can see that you can join with us. And there are two ways you can join with Bug Zero: join as a hacker or create a program. Since today's session is more generated towards the hacker community, I will be demonstrating how to join as a hacker. But in our in our YouTube channel, the previous session, yesterday and the day before yesterday, we did some sessions on how to create a program and how to engage as an organization. If you are willing to join Bug Zero as an organization, I would like to ask you to visit our Bug Zero YouTube channel, and you can view them at your leisure. So when you click on join as a hacker in the sign up section, all we need is your name, your handle. Handle means your username, your Facebook username, you can use it, or you can use your Twitter username, or any username you want. And for your name, you can use any kind of name, because some of the hackers like to display their name, make a name for themselves. But some hackers don't like to use their own name. They would use some kind of a nickname or some kind of pseudonym. So you can use whatever you want, and we need your email so that we can contact you regarding the bounty payments and swag dispatches and things like that. Or if we want to show you some kind of promotional material, so if we want to give you some kind of news, please enter your valid email here, then add the country, and then add your passwords, and finally you can click on to agree that we are going to agree with our terms and conditions. Basically, when I'm discussing about the terms and conditions, all I ask is that there are certain kinds of terms and conditions that you have to abide by when you are working with Bug Zero platform or any other bug bounty platform. The most basic thing that you need to adhere is, if you find vulnerability in a program in a bug bounty platform, you must not disclose that bug bounty report or the vulnerability report to a third party without the prior knowledge from the organization. So let's suppose you found a vulnerability in some kind of bug bounty program, let's say ABC. So you find there's a vulnerability in abc.com website. So you report that vulnerability directly to the vulnerability program ABC, and you are not going to publish this information in your social media or in your personal blog or things like that. So you have this kind of agreement that you are not going to disclose this vulnerability outside this Bug Zero platform or any other bug bounty platform. So once the vulnerability is fixed from the organization side, and when the organization wants to public this information, then you have the necessary privileges to public this information. So basically, once the organization release the vulnerability report to the public, you are free to do anything with the information, that you can publish it on your Twitter or Facebook, or you can even write a blog in your own account. So that's the basic agreement that you are going to abide by when we are working as a bug bounty hunter in our platform or any other bug bounty platform in the world. So for the time being, I will not create a new account here, but these very simple steps. Once you click on the create account, you will get a link that is used for verification. You just have to click on that link, then your account will be verified, and then you can sign in. So I will log into my own account as a hacker so that I can show you some of the things that we are going to do. So for that, let's first see what our programs are. So there are few bug bounty programs in Bug Zero. We have very famous names: Helakuru, Pay Here, Basha, and Root Sona, and Sri Lanka Cert, of course, and Web Telescope and Citadel Edu. Once you see these kind of bug bounty programs, you can visit them and see what they are offering as the assets, so that you can test for vulnerabilities in these programs. Let's visit Helakuru's bug bounty program. So once you visit the any kind of a bug bounty program listed in our program section, you see the same kind of structure. First, you will see some kind of a header that right here you can see the logo there, and they will give some kind of information about their program, and then you can read the policy. This policy is the most important part in a bug bounty program, that you have to read, and you have to have a clear understanding about this policy, and you have to abide by this policy. Otherwise, if you are not following this policy, even if you write a good report and submit to the bug bounty program, your report will be rejected because you didn't abide by the rules that mentioned in the policy. So basically, what policy is doing, that it's acting as a receptionist for their program. They will answer your questions, your basic answer, like your basic like frequently asking questions, such as what is a Helakuru program, what should I do in this bug bounty program, what should I not do in this program, and what kind of reports will we get bounties and what will not. So all these questions are answered here, so that you can see that Helakuru is asking you to find vulnerabilities in Helakuru Super Android application and Helakuru Lite, and you can even find vulnerabilities in the iOS application as well. So they ask you not to do this kind of testing. They ask you not to do DOS attacks, that's denial of service attacks, and spamming, phishing, and any social engineering or physical attacks against the Helakuru software. So they ask you these following things when you are writing a report. So the reported vulnerability should be in the relevant assets and scope. I will discuss about the assets and the scopes next. So then the again the thing that you are going to report as a vulnerability, it should be unique, because you can go to other bug bounty platforms and read their reports and get some kind of inspiration on how to find vulnerabilities, but you should not copy exactly from that report, and that report should be unique, because we do not accept plagiarism, and we the organizations and the Bug Zero platform as well, we believe in creating unique content and become better hackers and become better people as well, so that we encourage you to write unique reports. And of course, you can follow the structures of other reports. You can read reports. I will show you how to read reports and how to write reports in the following moments. And then you have to abide by this very important rule, that you should not publicly disclose the discovered vulnerabilities before the vulnerabilities are fixed from the hacker side. So that's the basic thing that you have to abide. So let's discuss what are the scopes and assets. So scope, there are two kinds of scopes: in scope and out of scope. So in here, Helakuru has only mentioned the in scope. I will show you out of scope thing in a moment. So in scope, you can see that they have mentioned three assets, and each asset is this row that you can see. So asset in the means that you can find vulnerabilities in this software. So you can find vulnerabilities in the Android app. You can find these vulnerabilities in this iOS app and this Helakuru Lite application, so that you can find vulnerabilities in each of any assets, and then you can submit the vulnerabilities to the organization, and they will validate that vulnerability, and they will fix it, and they will most definitely give you some kind of a reward for your efforts. So let's see an out of scope. So when we're discussing about in scope and out of scope, the basic thing that you need to understand is if they mention that this asset or this domain or when Android application is in scope, you can find vulnerabilities in that. But if it is mentioned in the out of scope, please do not try to find vulnerabilities in this asset, because the asset is not in the scope of the vulnerability program, the bug bounty program. For example, this we have our own bug zero bug bounty program. We have bug0.io listed in the scope because we own that domain and we own the same servers, and everything is on our infrastructure. So we don't have to be worried about any other people's servers or software, because we own everything. So you can find vulnerabilities in our system. But when you're moving on to blog.bug0.io, it is we only own the domain. So this is hosted on the Medium server. This is our blog. So if you are trying to find vulnerabilities in blog.bug0.io, you are not going to find vulnerabilities in one of our platforms. You are trying to find vulnerabilities in the medium.com's their platform. So we do not have any kind of agreement with them, or we don't have any kind of access to their platform. So you should not find vulnerabilities in this blog.bug0.io, because we have no we cannot intervene for your findings. So you have to report that vulnerabilities to the Medium publication, not to our bug bounty platform or the bug0 bug bounty program. So that covers the scope, in scope and out scope. So once we understand these things, we can go to submit a report. But before that, I will show you how a report looks like. So just a quick glimpse. I'm not going to go in depth here, just to show you this is how a report looks like. Then I will go in detail in each section how we are going to write it. So in here, you can see that there is a user, the username, the person who reported this vulnerability report. We call them hackers. So you can see a clear and short report title, and you can see a basic information about the report. And this is report body. It contains all the description. And then you can see first you can see the description, then you can see the impact, and you can see the comments that the hacker and the organization is communicating back and forth and discussing about the report. And then finally, the report is closed and it's disclosed to the public. You can see the state is fully disclosed. So I will show you how we are going to submit a report. So let's see, we found a vulnerability in Helakuru Android application. So now we are going to click in the submit report. Then we know that let's say we identified the vulnerability in the Android application. We click on the Android application lk.basha.helguru. Then we add this bug type. So if you are new to this, you don't have to worry about this. You can learn as Vishwa mentioned earlier. The internet is a very good resource so that you can learn anything from the scratch. Even if you are new to computers and web development and finding vulnerabilities, you don't have to worry about it. There's some kind of a clear path so that you can follow. You can follow those YouTube channels, and you can follow our own YouTube channel as well. We are guiding you to how to find vulnerabilities and how to be better hackers and how to become successful in bug bounty hunting. So that way, for this instance, I will select there is a vulnerability called cross-site scripting. I will show you cross-site scripting vulnerability and how a hacker can exploit that vulnerability so that they can do some kind of harm to the hacker. Sorry, do some kind of harm to the victim or the some kind of the person who's getting hacked. So once you add the bug type, you can select the threat level. You don't have to worry about the CVSS version 3 calculator, because this is mentioned. This is only uh, created towards veteran hackers, the people who are more experienced in finding vulnerabilities. You just have to select here, because you are a novice hacker and you understand how these things, how this vulnerability can be exploited. You can just select this cross-site scripting vulnerability has high or critical vulnerability. Then you add this report title. So basically the report title is we like to call it as like an email title, like an email subject. So when we adding an email subject, we know that it has to be short, but it has to be informative. And when the email recipient reads that email subject, so that the email is like he's going to click on this email or not, that's based on the email subject. So that's what the email recipient is going to see first. So just like that, the you can see the report title first, and it's in some kind of highlighted sense, so that you can read the report title and get some kind of understanding that what is this report is meant to be. So once you read this report title, there's some kind of user enumeration vulnerability in the login page. So just like that, you can add some kind of short and interesting report title. Then you can add the description. So basically description contains the generic information about how uh, uh, what kind of vulnerability you identified, how did you find the vulnerability, and what should the organization do about this vulnerability. So you can add the steps like step 1, step 2, step 3, so that the organization can find the vulnerabilities on their own easily. So then you can add some kind of attachments, like if you find some kind of vulnerability and you can reproduce it several times, you can create screenshots, you can get some kind of screen recording, you can record the screen and upload it to some kind of Google Drive or some kind of secure file storage, and then you can share it with this link, share the link here, or you can just upload it to our platform as well. We have the ability to host our own secure file storage. Also, once you completed this description, you can move on to the impact. In impact, we only ask you to give some kind of basic understanding about the vulnerability. So we ask you what kind of threat or risk to the target, so that you can say the vulnerability is on the home page. There is some kind of cross-site scripting vulnerability. So if an hacker is exploiting this vulnerability, the user data can be exposed and it can be harmful to the organization. So what kind of threat or risk to the organization? So the threat level is critical. So who else does it affect? We can say the organization is affecting this, because if the user data is uh, exposed, it will be some kind of a bad image to the organization, and people will lose faith in the organization's security. So they will lose businesses. So you can mention any of that here. So that's the basic things that you need to do. So let's finally you can submit report. So you select the asset, you select the bug type, so you select the threat level, then you add the report title, then you fill the description, you fill the impact, and then finally you submit the report. So now you might feel overwhelmed. This is like some kind of overwhelming, but you don't have to worry about. So we can always guide you how to write this kind of reports. You can read how these reports are written by other hackers. I will share the link in the chat. So and you can see there are many public reports how to write this. Also, Avishuru will show you some very advanced reports and how they can be read by you, how to learn about these things from the simple steps, so that you can start today itself. So now we can submit the report. So that's the basic steps that you can submit to get started with Bug Zero. So then now you have submitted report. Now you know about the registration, you know how to view programs, you know about the program policy, you know about the zero feed, and you know how to submit a vulnerability report. And then now you have submitted report. So you have to keep finding vulnerabilities in many programs that we have on our platform. Also, you can work with other bug bounty platforms as well. There are many bug bounty platforms in the world. There are some kind of famous bug bounty platforms such as HackerOne, Integrity, Bugcrowd. You can always work in that platforms and go to that platforms and see how they are doing it, how the hackers doing their hacking and how they are reporting it, and you can learn about it. You can also follow their YouTube channels as well, so you can get some kind of information about this everything, this whole bug bounty ecosystem. And also, once you reported a vulnerability report and the organization is acknowledged it, always try to keep engaging with that organization, ask them questions, what is the status of the bug bounty, so I mean the how is the fixing going, do you need any help from my side? So like keep some kind of a good communication with them, so that they know that you are interested and you are like having some kind of a good rapport between them and you, so that it will be helpful to you as well, so that we don't know like if the organization is very much interested in you and they are happy with your findings and they think you are a competent uh, bug bounty hunter, they might hire you as their security personnel. We don't know, it might happen, it has happened in the history. So there's a room for that as well. So that completes the bug zero demo. Now let's move on to the most interesting thing in this session. So we have around half an hour. So in this session I will be showing you how to identify vulnerabilities in web applications, and I will discuss about what is an exploit, and I will show you how to exploit a vulnerability in the like these are like big words, how to exploit a vulnerability. You all know how to hack someone, that's the basic definition. I will show you how to hack someone basically. So the only thing that I'm going to ask you today is that do not try this at home, because I have created my own platforms. I have created a vulnerable application from the scratch. This is my the domains that I'm going to use are mine, and emails that I'm going to use are mine. So the hacker is me, and the person who I'm going to hack is also me. So no one is getting hurt at the end of the day today, and no one's going to be at trouble with the law. So the basic thing is that we are doing this for educational purposes. We are not going to do any kind of harm. So this in this way, if you are trying to do this on your own, always use your own systems on your thing, on your own software, on source servers, so that you are not going to hack someone else and you end up with the trouble with the law. So remember, even if you are a very skilled hacker, uh, the law will catch up with you one day. So remember to be a good person with your knowledge, and try to become a better hacker, but try to become a better person as well. So in this session, I will discuss about the how to pinpoint the vulnerability, and then we are going to write some kind of code. It's called exploit. So you might see these things in the internet or in some films. Some person is just typing simple things into the computer and they press enter and they say I am in. So it's not that simple. Hacking might take weeks, months, or years. So it's a miracle if someone can just click on some kind of a button and say that I'm in. So I will show you that it takes around 30 minutes for me to hack someone. So first we have to select the victim. In this example, I am the victim, and we'll have to select a mode of communication. Uh, for this example, I'm going to use email, and using email, we are going to ask the victim for their password. In this instance, we are going to ask them access token. So you might be surprised that I'm going to ask someone's password in an email. Why should anyone give out their password willingly? But we don't know what other people might do with an email. So I will show you that how I am going to ask the victims their password. And then once the user gives me their password, so basically I'm going to give myself my own password. Now we have the access token. Now we have the full control of the victim's account. So the most important thing that we have to remember is do no harm with our knowledge. Everything you are going to learn today is it can be used for bad things. So I'm asking you again, use your knowledge for the betterment of the world and not to use that knowledge for harm. So until after all these things, I will discuss about the lessons that we have learned today. There will be some kind of very important lessons that we are going to learn today. So without further ado, let me show you the vulnerable application. So this web application is public. You can log into this as well. So I mean, you can see it. I have disabled the login because this can be some kind of problematic, because if someone is using this, because it's a simple application just for demonstration purposes. There's a warning here. This is a vulnerable application by design. Do not enter your personal or sensitive information here. This is created for demonstration purposes only. So with that in our mind, let's sign in. For this, I have created an account. So this account will be used as the hacker and as the victim as well, because I'm going to hack myself for this demonstration. So let's sign in and see what this application is. So basically, what this application is doing is that it's going to act as a message board. So if you know about message boards, this message board, there are message board like Reddit, or you can think of this as an YouTube comment section as well, or a Facebook comment section. So one person can write some kind of message here, and another one can see that message, and they can find read that message, and they can reply to that message as well. So in here, let me give you some kind of overall understanding about what is going today. So we have hacker, and we have victim. So we are going to connect with victim using email. The thing is, hacker knows the victim, but the victim doesn't know the hacker. Then we are going to use this kind of vulnerable web application, and we are going to find some kind of vulnerability, and then we know that we are going to access this website, and then we know the victim is also accessing this website. So with this information, we are going to ask the victim's password and we are going to hack his account. So for this, I'm going to use these two terms. You might heard of it. So the first thing is we are going to use email spoofing. Then we are going to use email phishing. For this demonstration, since we are only restricted to around 30 minutes, I'm not going to show you exactly how we are going to use this email spoofing for this purpose. I'm just going to use one of my email accounts. So I will show you how I'm going to use my own account, but in real world, a hacker might not use their own email account. They will use that email spoofing technology to hide their own email and trick you into clicking this link. I will of course use this email phishing techniques to obtain the victim's password, but I will not using the email spoofing technology in detail, but I'm going to emulate that I'm going to use email spoofing. So for this, the first thing that we need to do is, as the hacker, we have to find vulnerabilities in this web application. So the thing that we have to first check whether is that if you see some kind of input box here in this in any kind of website, the first thing you need to do is you just enter some kind of things and see what happens in the website. So let's say, hello, my name is Nipun. So you submit it and you see, yes, the message is reflected here. So now you know about, as the hacker, you know about this. There is some kind of vulnerability called cross-site scripting. What cross-site scripting means that if there is some kind of this cross-site scripting in this vulnerable web application, the script that you are going to enter here in the input box will be executed in this web application. So executed means that anything you ask the website to do, it will do it, that without the knowledge of the website. The website, I mean, when I discuss about the website, it means without the knowledge of the user and without the knowledge of the entire web server. So because basically when we are executing something in this context in this website, the website will know that this execution, this command is entered by some kind of valid user. But when there is some kind of cross-site scripting vulnerability in this web application, the server has no control over it, and server has to accept any kind of message as a valid message, the valid command, and they have to execute it. So since now I'm just talking about some kind of a vulnerability hunter, bug bounty hunter, not a malicious, a bad person. First, we are going to try to see if there is some kind of a vulnerability. So the first POC, the first thing that we can check is if there's some kind of a simple way to check for vulnerability in cross-site scripting, that you add this message. So in this way, if we submit this message, then if you click on the submit button, if the cross-site scripting vulnerability in this platform, there will be a pop-up saying hello world. So let's submit this message and see if this is true or not. So as we suspected, there is a cross-site scripting vulnerability in this website, this web platform. So we can see that this pop up here. So now you are a good person, a good bug bounty hunter, a hacker. So you can stop here. You can get a screenshot, or you can take a screen recording here and submit to the bug bounty program and say that there is a cross-site scripting vulnerability here. So you need to fix it as soon as possible, because it's a very critical vulnerability to have a web application. So that's it. You will get a substantial amount as a bug bounty, and you will be rewarded So you can stop here. But in this demonstration, we are not a good person. We are going to act as a malicious person. We are going to harm this the victim with the knowledge that we gain as a web developers, security testers, and uh, like malicious hackers. So now we have found a vulnerability in this web application. So as a good hacker, when I say a good hacker, I'm saying a competent hacker, a skilled hacker. You are going to find the same vulnerability, or you are trying to find the same vulnerability, or you are trying to find as much as vulnerabilities in the same web application. You are not going to just find one vulnerability and say that's it. I'm going to try to exploit this vulnerability. So as a better hacker, the good better hacker, a good hacker, as a competent hacker, you are going to find, we are trying to find many as much as vulnerabilities in this platform. So do not confuse with a good hacker and an ethical hacker. I'm going to discuss as a skilled hacker, not a good person. This is a very bad person who's trying to do some kind of harm, but he's a good hacker. He's going to use his knowledge to find the same vulnerability or different vulnerabilities in the same platform. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to since we have seen an input box, now we know this kind of vulnerabilities. So we are going to enter several things into this. So I'm going to just add some kind of words. I'm going to add some kind of messages here and see what happens. So it access. So you can see that I'm going to type this on my hand manually. It's very boring. And we can use tools to automate this, since it takes me so much time to type this. But if you automate it, you can add hundreds and thousands of messages within seconds. So to show you how to do that, Avishuru will show you how to use burp suite to find these vulnerabilities using the tools. Today I'm not going to use any kind of tools to hack this account or to find vulnerabilities. I'm just going to use to do by hand everything in manually. So now we tried typing letters and numbers. Now let's try to add some kind of a message with an emoji. So let's see. Let's submit it. Yes. Now we have seen that this platform accepts anything other than emojis. So they say the message should not contain emojis. So now we have the platform has given us some kind of error message. Now we know we have a way to get inside to this system in another way. So if some kind of system doesn't ask reject some kind of input, one of the best things that you can try to do is try to give this same input hundreds and thousands of times, so that you can hope that the system will break in one point. So remember, I'm just working as a malicious person. I'm a bad person, not a good person. So if you are going to do this in a real world system, you are going to end up in trouble because it's illegal. It's what we call like denial of service, or we are going to flood the servers with some kind of messages to disrupt the services. So you should not do this at live systems, since this everything is mine, everything owned by me. So I'm no one is going to get harmed. So that's why I'm trying to do this. So we are going to add the emojis here, and we are going to try what is happening. We are going to see what is happening here. So we are going to add as many as emojis and see what is happening. If you have look closely here in the address bar, you can see it's quickly changing. So if you look closely here, you can see there's some kind of thing appear here and quickly disappear. So to see whether it is to understand what is happening, we can go to the history tab and see if that URL is changing here quickly. So for this demonstration, I have created an extension Google Chrome extension so that you can quickly view the history. So let's see. I have exported the last 5 minutes of my history. Since I only work with this platform, I can only get the filtered history. Yes, as we suspected, the URL is changing quickly. The developer has used this query strings, the query params, to update the website to show the error message. So we know that the the developer is using this error query param and the error message as the message should not contain emojis is used in the website. So you can see the message should not contain emojis. It's shown here, and we can see the same thing here. So now the hacker has a good understanding how this website is working. So what we are going to do is we are going to try to add our own message here. We are going to try if this message will show that anything that we are going to add here. So I will say, hello, my name is hacker. So let's try this. Yes, as we suspected, hello, my name is hacker is shown here as the message. So now the hacker has identified there are some kind of issue in this. Even here, this is not some kind of a very big problem because you can add some kind of message, it will be shown here. But now you are a competent hacker, you know if some kind of things that unfiltered input is shown here, there might be a cross-site scripting vulnerability also in this place as well, not only here, in this place as well. So what we are going to do is we are going to use the same message that we inputted in the input box. We are going to add this in the address bar as well. So we are going to add it here and we are going to click it. If there is some kind of message hello world to pop up in the browser, we know that there are same vulnerability. Yes, as we suspected, the same vulnerability is in two places. So we can update this graph that we have two vulnerabilities. There are two vulnerabilities in the same web application. So now as a competent hacker, you know there are two ways to exploit this vulnerability. So there is an interesting way to uh, hack the victim, and there is more interesting way to hack the victim. So for this example, I'm going to show you a very interesting way to hack the victim. So next, now we pinpointed the vulnerability and we are going to write some exploit. So before this session, I have already selected the victim and I have already selected the mode of communication. So we are going to write the exploit. So you don't have to actually worry about the exploit. So for that, I'm going to use I'm going to use this technology I mentioned, email spoofing and email phishing. So for that, we need to get some information about the victim. So how we are going to use the knowledge about the victim, create a good email phishing. So we have the email address from the victim. For this, I'm going to use some kind of a fake email, which is owned by me, so that no one is going to hurt at the end of the day. And also, in real world, a hacker can obtain your email very easily. So be mindful of that too. And then how we are going to create good email spoofing and how we are going to use the knowledge about the victim to create a good phishing email. So as the victim, as the hacker, so I'm the hacker, I'm a competent hacker. So I'm going to observe the victim. So I know who they are. So I will be following them on social media. So I see that the victim is sharing uh, uh, he's a foodie, he likes food. So he's sharing that he's visiting KFC or other the fast food parlors every other day. So he's sharing photos with with their friends and family. He mentioned that he loves KFC and he loves fried chicken. So he openly say this everything in Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or things like that. So now we have an opening. We know that the victim is a big lover of KFC fried chicken. So we can use this as our advantage. The hacker is going to use this as an advantage. So what the hacker is going to do is a very simple thing. So I have this thing. I'm not going to show you how to do it exactly, but if the hacker is going to search these emails from KFC, they can see how an email from KFC look like. Because it's a component one, they can recreate this kind of email. You can always see here that there is a template. The internet is a very good friend of the bad people. Always remember that. And of course, internet is a good friend for the good people as well. So the bad people will take advantage of this, and the good people should take advantage of this internet as well. So they will create this kind of email, but today I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to use some kind of very ugly email as a phishing email. But remember, a good component hacker will most definitely use this kind of knowledge to create a good phishing email, so that you will be convinced that this email is coming from KFC or Pizza Hut or anything. Like you might get email from Adidas, or you have seen these links on people sharing in WhatsApp or things like that. Hey, click on this link, you will get a 10% coupon, or your friends will ask you to share this link with 10 other people as well, so you can get some kind of promo. So be mindful of the links that you are going to click. And for this example, I will be just doing some kind of an ugly email, like a very textual email, but we are not going to go into some kind of a very elaborate phishing email, because this just a demonstration. So for that, I'm going to use this temporary email agent. So this email is a temporary email. It's only available to me. So we are not going to hurt anyone at the end of the day. We are just going to demonstrate how an hacker will send you a phishing email using the email spoofing technology. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to use this email spoofing technology here, because it takes some time and some setting up, but it's really easy for component hacker to do it. So be mindful of who you are receiving email from. So for this, I will use this as the victim's email. So from my own email address, I will create a message, a very convincing email. So in here, we are going to add an email called 10 crispy chicken buckets on Friday. There is a promo. So we are going to add the subject here, and we are going to, we know the hacker's, the victim's name. The hacker knows the victim's name. So we are going to say, hello Nipuna, there will be a promo of 25% off for the next order, and click on this link immediately so that you can get the promo for your chicken bucket. So now we are going to add this. So let me set up my own servers, so that no problem for any other person. So here I have set up my own server. In this way, what is happening is that when the victim is clicking on the link, the victim's password, the access token, will be transferred to this server. This is my own server. So as I mentioned earlier, everything is mine, so no problem. You don't have to worry about these things that I'm doing on the screen. I'm just setting up a server, a private server. So we are going to add this as the link to click by the victim. So always be mindful of the links that you get via email. Be careful what you click on the internet every time. So now I have created the email. I will send to the victim as the hacker. Now I have sent the email to the victim. Let's wait until it reaches the victim's email box. Think it might take like 1 minute to reach here. Yes, as we suspected, it reaches. So for here, you can see the sender is me, my name Nipuna Veerasekara, and my email. But this is shown here because we haven't used this email spoofing technology. I only mentioned that there will be an email spoofing technology, but I didn't use it here. I only use this email phishing technology. So that's why you see my name here. But in real world, a hacker will most definitely not use their own email addresses when they are sending phishing emails. You will see something like this. You will see from KFC Sri Lanka, and you will say email as something like KFC at something like this. So if you didn't look carefully this email that your sender's email, you might get tricked, because you can see in here the I is not the I that we are going to use here. It's this different kind of I, that it's not the I that we are going to use in real world. This is a different kind of I. So if you spot the difference, then you are safe. You are not going to, you know that this is a fake email, this spoofed email. So you are not going to click on here. But if you do not look carefully about the email sender, you are going to end up in trouble, because if you click on this email, let's see what's going to happen. So now let's see what is this email is. Yes, it says it's from KFC Sri Lanka. There is 10 crispy bucket for Fridays. You are a foodie now. You are very happy. So you know that there is a 25% off for the next order. So remember this email. I'm actually too lazy, so I didn't create some kind of very beautiful email. It's just text. So you know, if KFC doesn't send you this kind of email, so no worries. But in real world, hackers will not use this. They are not lazy. If they are something, they are not lazy. They are very persistent. They hide in the shadows and they work their ways towards you. So always be mindful about that. So they will be using this kind of very beautiful kind of attractive emails, so that you will end up clicking this link. So for this moment, I see this email as attractive. I believe the sender is the real KFC. So I'm going to click on this link. So see here, you see these kind of big emails, big links in the emails, but you are not going to worry about that, because you know, once I click on the link, you just think that if there is a big link, the length might be some kind of promo code. So you are not going to worry about what is happening under the hood. And you might see this kind of error message on any platform that you are going to use, but you would not care about it, because you've seen this when you log into some kind of platform. You might see this kind of pop-ups in login to very famous website. So you are not going to worry about this, and you are going to dismiss it. But under the hood, the hacker has already obtained your password, the access token. So I'm going to show you that the hacker has in fact obtained the access token. So I'm as a web developer, you might know what is this. This is what we are called a JSON Web Token, JSON Access Token. So if you have a JSON Web Token, we can go to this website called jwt.io. We can see what's inside this. We can paste that web token here and see what's inside it. So we can see that the user ID is this. Yes, we know the victim's user ID is this. So we know the victim's email as well. It's this. And now we have all the necessary information and access tokens and access privileges so that we can hack this account. So for this example, now I'm the victim. I'm going to add some kind of message here that hello, my name is Nipuna. I love KFC crispy chicken. Sorry. Yeah. So this is the message that I sent in this message board. So as the hacker, what we are going to do is we are going to change this message to something other than this, so that we are going to demonstrate that the hacker has the complete control over the victim's account. So for that, I'm going to use the Firebase technologies and their APIs. You don't have to worry about it, because once you are getting into the web development and learning about how websites work, you will understand that I'm going to use the Firebase APIs to update this information. So the Firebase doesn't care about who the user is, as long as we have a valid JSON Web Token or the authentication token. So that's why it is very vital that your website doesn't have this vulnerability, because Firebase only care about a valid web token. And because since Firebase, the Firebase servers are machines, they don't understand who the people is behind this. They only understand who this authentication token owned by. So if we steal someone else's JSON Web Tokens or their access tokens, the Firebase, we can basically impersonate another person, so that we can trick the Firebase, so that, or any kind of web server, we can trick them to think that we are this intended person and we are not some kind of an imposter. So we are going to use this web token we have obtained. We basically ask the victim to send their access token, and they just willingly gave it to us just by clicking a link. So remember that, be mindful of that. If you share your links with that, if you are clicking on links that sent by others, that there is some kind of a probability, when we are clicking some kind of unknown link, that your personal information might get leaked. So be always mindful about the links that you are going to click. So we are going to paste the authentication token here, and we are going to use this user ID from here, and we are going to add this here. So we are going to change the message here. So in this instance, I don't like, it's not that I don't like Batman, I don't like fried chicken. So we are going to change the message. I am the victim, I got hacked, and I don't like fried chicken. So if everything works well, if the Firebase accepts our message as a valid message, there will be HTTP 200 OK message here. So let's hope everything works. So let's send this message. So as we believe, we have received the 200 OK message. So now we can, if we go to the website again, the vulnerable web application, we can see that the message has changed into I am the victim, I got hacked, and I don't like fried chicken. So let's see if this reflects in the website as well. Yes, as we believed, we have hacked the victim, we have obtained his access token, and we have changed his message because we have the complete control over his account. So that's the entire demonstration that I wanted to show you, so that there are websites that have vulnerabilities. So be careful of the vulnerabilities that because of the vulnerabilities in these websites, your information can get exposed into the hackers' hands. So if I reiterate what we did today, we pinpointed the vulnerability, we wrote some code, we selected the victim, that's me, of course, and we selected a mode of communication. We used email, we obtained their password, their access token, and now we had the full control to this account. So that's the entire hacking cycle. So what have we learned today? So today we learned that when we are receiving emails from others, we should be mindful of who we are receiving from, who are the senders. So we have to check the email addresses and the names and the validity of the emails before clicking on any suspicious link. So if you see a big link, a lengthy link, don't dismiss it like this might be something like a promo code, but under the hood, without your knowledge, just because you click the link, your data can be stolen just like that very easily. At the point, I actually forgot to say I am in, but that's how like we got around more than 30 minutes to hack someone and say I am in. So that's why I said earlier that in real world hacking takes much time. We have to learn about the system, we have to learn about the victim, and we have to write some code, and we have to execute those code as well. So basically what I wanted to say that today is be mindful about the things that you are seeing on the internet and clicking on the links. Some links will be safe, but most of the links you can guarantee that they will be malicious and harmful. So be careful of that, and always remember the knowledge you gain here today, use it for educational purposes. So you don't use your knowledge for anyone else's harm. And remember, there are, if you are new to this, you can learn many from internet, like you can as I mentioned earlier, hackers will use the knowledge gained from the internet for their bad purposes, and we have to be the fighting force against that. We have to use the knowledge from the internet to do good and fight against the hackers, like the bad people, the bad hackers are not necessarily bad or good. It's what their actions define that if they are good or bad. So we have to like follow some kind of ethics codes, like the basic thing that you need to take away from today is do no harm with your knowledge. So that's it for this live hacking session. And first we'll learn about how we can engage with the bug zero platform, and in the next session Abhisuru will show you some kind of resources that you can get started today itself. So we have like the time is already taken more like, but we can spare some kind of 3 minutes today, so that if you have some kind of question, you can type it on the chat, or if not, we can move with the next section by Avishuru around 12:15 or 12:10. So I will stop sharing my screen. So Avisuru can share their screen as well. So I hope you learned some kind of an valuable lesson today, and I hope the session was entertaining. And I will open the session to Isuru. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Nimra. I will share my screen. Uh, so, so I'm Isru from Bug Zero, and today I will show you how to. I will explain. I will give introduction to some of the web vulnerabilities, and I will show you some of the vulnerability reports that has been submitted by other hackers, and I'll try to some of them I'll try to demonstrate how it works, how they actually the vulnerability works, and finally I will give an introduction to some web hacking tools, especially Burp Suite. So so let's first talk about first vulnerability type. Uh, so first vulnerability I'm going to talk about is SSRF, also known as server-side request forgery. So this is also a kind of a common vulnerability type that is occurs on websites. Some of them. So to explain this, I'll take example of, let's say I have a website that is showing the weather informations. So if I want to show the weather information to the users, then let's say I use a third party like website for that. Let's say there's a website called weather.io or weather.com. So first I want to do is I want to send a request to the weather.com and then get the weather and show it to you. So uh, if this request is sent by here, so let's say I send a first from the website in the under the hood on the web browser, there's a request is sent into our own server, but it contains a parameter called URL, and then inside of the parameter we specify these weather.com. So then this parameter is getting executed on the server side, so which means the server will send a request to the weather.com, and then it will the weather.com will give back the result. The reason that the first we send it to our own server, because sometimes let's say the weather.com requires an authentication, and we don't need to disclose that API key or authentication to normal users. So we send this request to the backend or our own server, then send it. But what the issue here is that now this parameter is controlled by the attacker. So a user attacker in this case, he can change this URL parameter to his own host. So let's say its own domain name or server. Then if the server adding some authentication, he can actually get that access token or API key as to his server. Second issue here is that he can then let's say this our backend server is hosted on AWS or any cloud platform. Then what will happen is there's an endpoint on AWS called, I think it's called metadata, which contains some sensitive information like credentials, some sort of about the instance, the AWS instance. So if attacker submit that endpoint, then it's gonna send it So the thing about this AWS endpoint is that only within the AWS you can send this request to metadata endpoint. You cannot outside user cannot send this request. But since we control this, since there's an SSRF issue in this server, in this web application, so we can actually get that credential back to us. So that's some of the one of the issues that occurs. So I'll show you now how one of the hackers were able to found SSRF issue on Google Cloud projects, and you can see he received 10,000 bounty for this. And so he also actually created a video about how he actually found this bug. He created like a video that the entire process that he did it. So this is his blog article that he wrote. So if you wanna read it, I will also put this on chat. So in here, what he did is he found that one of the projects on Google have this SSR visual that it's similarly work like the one that I explained before. So the Google first get the web request, and then it adds some additional credentials to the request and send it to another web server. So in here, in this case, Google had a protections against SSRF attacks. So we know the Google actually a really large company, and they all really care about security really a lot. So they already had protections against SSRF. So whenever you enter, so this is the request that is actually send you to you to get idea how this request sent. So here the attacker put his own domain. So here's like the request, the entire request, right? So it's only accept that the domains that contain the Google jobs.googleapis.com. But the attacker was able to add some special character and bypass this filter, and he was able to actually get this authentication token that Google was sending, and through that he was able to actually got able to access Google internal projects. Through that, I think he actually went more deeper, and then he was able to do more impact, create a very large impact for this. Mm, for that, I think he got a really good boundary for that report, because so he was able to actually, I think, run codes inside this instance as well. So you can see how much impact these vulnerabilities. See, SSRF could lead to sometimes a command execution vulnerability. So an attacker, if there is some issues. So one of the another issue is with SSRF is that attacker can actually access your internal network. So let's say we have a large organization, and then we have a server backend, but our backend can access our internal network, but the outside users cannot access it. So let's say there's an IP address like 10.10.10.10. So like this IP address. So if I put this on browser, it normally it will not going to work because it's an internal network. But within SSRF, I can actually access this instant. Another issue with SSRF that you can do an internal port scan, so you can find even more bug through this. Through this. So that's for the SSRF, and I'll show you now in a code base how this like look like. So I'll choose for this, I choose a PHP. So this is like what vulnerable code looks like on SSRF level. So in PHP, so first we get the URL parameter that I show you in here. It's like the URL parameter here, and then it will let's say taking let's say this website is taking an image, so we provide the URL parameter, and then it will use fopen to get this this link from the external source. Now the web developers, as a web developer, we might not think about this as a harmful thing because we might not see that aspect area, because we think, okay, this is going to be a normal link. But the issue is the attacker can actually send other request, like a localhost request to the website, and get additional data. So this is that endpoint that I talked about earlier, the AWS. So if you somehow able to send this request to this, you can actually get Amazon EC2 metadata from here. So also you can read internal files. So we call this a file inclusion vulnerabilities. So here we can read etc passwd file from the web server itself. So there are multiple attack vectors for the SSRF issues. So a second vulnerability called I'll show you is blind XSS. So this is a variant of cross-site scripting attack. So what happens in blind XSS is that a normal cross-site scripting. So the issue is normal cross-site scripting is when we're developing a website. Let's say we create like we tend to like know like cross-site scripting nowadays. I think let's say in the frameworks like React or Vue.js or any other front-end frameworks, they have already have protections against blind cross-site scripting. But let's say there's an admin portal, but we don't maybe just not put too much attention to like what we put in on the admin endpoint, because it's only accessible to the admin users. So but the issue is in this case, in this cross-site scripting variant, the attacker does not, he doesn't know, the attacker doesn't know is going to be vulnerable. So he's going to blindly put a payload, and if the, let's say the admin view this page, and he can in his dashboard, let's say this payload get executed, and then the blind cross-site scripting will trigger, and then as our Nipuna shows, uh, we can trigger the exact same issue with this blind payload as well. So the exact same input like he shows earlier, we can get that impact through this. So we put this payload into that, and we can actually try that. So this is also a stored cross-site scripting attack. This is similar to that, but the main difference is that attacker does not know this is vulnerable. So how attackers just find these stuff vulnerabilities is that let's say there's a feedback form. uh, Normally like feedback forms are the, I think, most common ways to find these blind accesses, because uh, like in the other side of the feedback form, we view them when admin views the feedbacks from the users. This will trigger, and we can get his credentials and other critical sensitive informations. So I'll show you a report regarding cross-site scripting. So here a hacker was able to find a blind access on Zomato.com. He was able to actually enter the blind cross-site scripting payload into one of the reports, I think, then the admin view this report. He was able to actually get admin credentials to his own server. Through that, he was able to actually get admin panel access. So he reported on this on the HackerOne platform, and he got 350 bounty for that. So this is normally the payload looks like on blind XSS. Here you just need to put your own server address here and then a payload for JavaScript that need to trigger. Next I will talk about something called mass assignment issue. So this is also very common bug type on web applications. So that mass assignment is like so I'll explain this with another example that in the website. So let's say, okay, so here you can see there's a sign up form, and this sign up form contains name, username, password, address, city, just like a normal sign up form. And then inside of the backend part, this is actually, I think, a Laravel one. So we create through the sign up form, we create a new user. So we get the request name, username, password, address, city from the request, and then we save it to our database. But sometimes we feel lazy. Sometimes like, let's say there's so many things going on and we don't do validate every single one of these fields. And then what we do is we simply say, okay, just put everything on the request into the database. So there's a Laravel, there's a feature like that you can give all the fields to the model. There's a function called create. Through that you can give all the data to just pass it to this create method, and it will no matter what is inside of it, then it will create user from that. So what's the impact, what's the issue here? So normally if the user is executing, if user gives all these data, as long as these data is getting satisfied, it's fine, it's work, no issues. Because it's gonna get validated first. So it's obviously it's gonna validate name, username, all this stuff, and then so validated. And then when the issue occurs when we add a hidden parameter like this. So let's say in the user model, this model, there's a parameter called isadmin. This parameter is not visible to users, but a user can guess them. So let's say if this is the case, then user can just generate hundreds of these parameters and then put it into a request that we're sending. And then if there is one of the parameters actually in the model, it will automatically set that parameter to this value. So in this case, there's a hidden parameter called is admin. So the attacker, he could do is he can put this is admin into the request of the sign up request. He can set it to 1, then it will become vulnerable, and it will actually literally going to be he can get a admin account through this. So just a simple misconfiguration could lead to a very critical issue, you can see. So avoiding the vulnerability in Laravel, if it's using Laravel, there's a feature called fillable type on models. You can put only the parameter that you're using to the fillable, and it will show the mass assignment vulnerability. So yeah, so let's go to one report. This is a report that is submitted by a hacker that he was able to change the email address of website. So you can see in this website, some website, let's say there's only allow you to change your name and your, let's say, your birthday, or only your other profile information, but not only it does not allow you to change your email address. But let's say you add email address to it, and let's see what happens. If it is changed, then we know, okay, so the web application does not check this, it does not expect to change email address, so it might not check this email is used by a previous user. So what happens is I can just update this email address to existing user, and then through that I can get a complete account takeover issue. So that through that, so that's also could lead to a very critical issue. So next I will talk about something called race condition. This is also another issue can occur on some web applications. If we didn't properly uh, put security measurements into this. So in here I will explain how this flow works. So this is like a normal scenario that someone try to transfer money from A to B, and then if checks the balance, okay, then it will increment the account of B, then it will decrement the account A money, then request is complete. So this is the normal request, right? So what happens if I run this, if I send this same request at the same time 2 times? So let's say I send the same request 10 times, so the same time. So if there is like a multi-threading application on the web application, what happens is web application, the web server is failed to validate these transactions properly. This leads to a serious issue, and that could like it fails to like determine which flow, which so the which one is correct and which one is currently going. So validation can be little get messed up, and it will as a result it could lead to a very serious issues, especially in like payment gateways. If this vulnerability exists, it could lead to very serious operating measures. So let's say there's a withdraw function, and then if you can find a race condition in withdrawal, you can actually get so many money out of that because through this issue. So this also could lead to a serious amount of issue. So I'll show you a report regarding this. So this one that hacker found on a Starbucks. He was able to get unlimited coffee. There was a vulnerability, there's a race condition issue that if you send this redeeming request simultaneously, like same time, then get properly validated, and then he was able to redeem same gift card multiple times, free coffee, and he also put the bill here as well. So you can see this could lead to a serious issue. So you was able to like order so many items, and you will just actually paying $0. So that's actually a very critical issue. So call some like more about it, get a better understanding what the issue actually looks like, and how what kind of security measurements that I can implement. So one thing I can suggest is that you can use a synchronization. If you're using multi-threaded application, always use always use the synchronization between. So the web application going to wait until one task is complete. It's not going to execute all the requests at the same time. It will wait for it. And yeah, so make sure that if you're implementing multi-threaded applications, just implement that synchronizing task among those critical actions. So that's for the race conditioning, and then I will go to another one called cache poisoning. Cache poisoning is also can be occurred on applications if we didn't properly configure our cache. So here, an attacker find a cache poisoning issue in website. What happens is, so this cache poisoning could lead to many different of vulnerability types. One is denial of service attack and cross-site scripting. Even some critical information disclosure. Sometimes could even lead to account takeover vulnerabilities as well. So this could lead to a very low impact to a very critical impact issue, cache poisoning. So I'll explain one scenario. So let's say you have a profile page. So you have a profile page on your website, and what happens if this vulnerability exists? I'll show you on our Bug Zero website. Say let's say the zero feed contains some critical information. So what I do is here, I'll say test.css. So you need to put something like some file name that getting cached. So normally CSS, JavaScript, HTML are files that getting cached on the cache server. So if I put like this, then if if site is vulnerable, then it's going to ignore this part. So let's say I go to zero feet and then I put tester CSS there, and then the site vulnerable, then it ignores the part that is there. So this could often occurs on single page websites or other website that's not single, just HTML. It's also occurs on those as well, but sometimes we ignore the rest and we will only care about the part that there. So let's say it's a profile page, so it's profile and then test.css. It will ignore this profile test.css, will only go for this. What issue is, the cache server does not see it as that, it sees as a file. So then it will cache this file to other users as well. So what attacker could do is attacker could send this link to a victim user. Then victim user visit this link. The cache server will create a cache on this file, and it actually include users private informations like email addresses, address information, so credit card information, any critical information he can then extract from the user. So once user clicked on this link, the attacker can then visit the same link again, and the cache server will give him the cached web response. So in here you can see in this figure, actually the attack vector is different. Here what the attacker does is he put a malicious content into the cache, and then the user visit the cache, the website, the malicious content will get displayed. So this is like a cross-site scripting scenario. So attacker like let's say so the caching was like it's not just the HTML content, could also like the headers also getting cached. So no, so the not header, like, so let's say, so most application use like SEO tools things, so they contain these tags that some domain names, and then if I were able to somehow put a cross-site scripting payload inside of the that domain name that site use, then when the user visit it, and will trigger cross-site scripting on their end. So yeah, so that's for the cache poisoning, and I'll show you. There's and a researcher was able to found over more than 70 cache poisoning vulnerabilities on programs. So you can see he was found on one GitHub, Shopify, Rockstar Games, many other ones. So he was able to perform denial of service, cross-site scripting, and many. I'll also leave this link on the chat as well, so you to read, so to get a better understanding of the cache. So how to like prevent from cache poisoning is that you can just make sure that errors, always the errors not getting disclosed on the the getting cached. So the error responses will never getting disclosed on the caches. So make sure that you configure your cache server to only cache non-sensitive uh, endpoints. It does not cache the critical endpoints. So then you can actually kind of prevent from cache poisoning. So, this occurs this is also kind of common attack types. If we trust user sending data, if we trust those to create a process, then it can occur, can create a hosted injection type attacks. So in this scenario, I'll show you how this works. So let's imagine that a website have a forget password feature, and it allows to like you can in forget password you can put any other user's email address and then send a reset token. Only thing you need is the victim's user's email address. So you put your any victim's user email and then reset the password, and in the request what you do is you change the host header. So in HTTP request there's a host header. So if I change this host header uh, to an attacker control server, then the server will generate the password reset token based on this host header. So this is like happen often, can be happen often, because sometimes we get the site, we don't hard code the in web application, we don't usually hard code like URL domain names and stuff because it can be changed. So instead what we do is either we take it from a configuration file, env file something, or we use this header, this request host header, to generate give us the domain name. So then what happens is whenever it's generating this password reset link, it will use this that header that we provided. In this case is eviluser.net, and then it will include the password reset token at the end of it. So we will attach it. So then what happens is it goes to the victim's user's email address, and if the victim user click on that, then the attacker can get the password reset token, and he can change the victim's password uh, through that. So yeah, that could lead to a serious amount of issues. So I'll show you some of the account takeover issues that can be used as like this. So another one is another kind of similar attack type to this is that we can let's say in the password reset token we can include we can like to change the email in ways. The email addresses can be formed in many different ways. So sometimes email providers allow to add CC headers or BCC. If that's allowed, then whenever we sending email, we can put this and put a attacker email address here, and then actually send a password reset token to our own email address and get an account takeover. Or you can just add a multiple email address on the password reset request, like as an array, and then get a account takeover through that. So another one you can do, sometimes this can occur very often, IDO attacks. IDO attacks is like where we, let's say I want to update my own profile image, profile details, but in the request there is a user ID field. So this user ID fields refer to my own user ID, but if the web application let's say identify the user through this user ID field, then what will happen is, so the request will look like this. So this is going to be the user ID. So let's say this is my user ID, but if I change it to another user's user ID, let's say I decrement this value by 1, then it's going to be another user. So if I can then change this information, if the application approve this request, then I can change information on other users account. So there are multiple ways to actually get account takeovers, like this type of issues as well. So you can find many of these payloads online if you search it. It's very common to find these sort of things. So then I'll go to another issue called PHP type juggling. So this is very interesting issue. Happen on many web applications, PHP applications especially. I think type juggling is don't really think that other language have much vulnerabilities regarding this, but PHP actually have a issue here. So if you know PHP, that you know there's two type of comparison on PHP, which is you can just use a double equation marks or triple one. So what's the difference? So difference is the simple just misconfiguration. Simple one missing equation could lead you to complete account takeover due to very critical vulnerabilities. So I'll demonstrate this to you through a PHP shell. In here in PHP, this is actually execute PHP code here. So let's say I have a string called, let's say I have a password, right? So I have a password here. So if it is to 1, 2, 3, it doesn't work. It says false, right? So, okay, so I missed one actually. So again, right, it doesn't work because it doesn't match, right? But the interesting thing happens. What happens if I do this? Then it approves this. So this is a very huge issue, because let's say there's a login function, and then we matching to the username and password. So first we get the username, we check the username is actually exist. Then we check the password. While we checking the password, we said like, okay, the password is equal to the password the password hash whatever. So we get it from the database, and then we check it against the request that is set to by the user, and the what we expect is to user to put is a string. But this type juggling is like a feature. Actually, it's not a kind of vulnerability type. It's a feature that called type correction, which is when we try to compare different type of types, what we'll do is it try to like convert it to a common type, then it's try to compare them after converting it to a common data type. So in this case, it try to like convert it to a boolean and then try to compare it, and it works through that. So can get a better understanding. I think I'll show you so in here this article here. If you read this article, you can get a better understanding. So there were some cases, I don't know, I think they actually PHP fixed some issues. So there were used to be like there were scenarios like if you put 7 and a string here, and then if you match against 7, then it will first create this string, then they convert this into a integer type. So which means it will ignore this part, it will get the 7 only, and then it will return true. So this could lead to a serious issues. Like let's say there's a password hash that we match in. So if I can like find a value that is in the password hash, and then like first value, and then if we try to somehow find the exact match for that, and we match against the hash, it will return true. So yeah, this could lead to a huge issues. But the type juggling is actually a very it can be very weird sort of scenarios. Like it doesn't do the like same the so what I showed is one way of doing it. So that it can be like other ways. There's can be so many other ways to actually exploit type juggling. So we cannot just say it's one payload it's vulnerable. So you can actually read an article and like get a better idea and about type juggling vulnerability. So how to prevent is basically in this example I'll show you. So if I put third equation sign, then it will not work, because it's not going to then compare it based on the type. It will compare it based on the actual give. So it's this if it is a string, then it will just say okay, no, it's not valid because it's not a string. So yeah, it will work on if you add the correct one, it will work. So yeah, it will work if you add. So if you like testing like checking for like huge critical actions like password validation, things like that, and don't use this double equation signs, which could lead to a serious amount of issues, unless you know that is an issue here, but you actually implement it for like some other scenarios. Like there are some times that you should use double equations, but most of the time try to stick to this comparison because it's much more safer. So now I will give some small introduction to a hacking tool called Burp Suite. So yeah, so Burp Suite is web actually pen testing framework, which actually is really good for testers. So this not only for hackers, for organizations as well. This is this have enterprise edition, and for normal users you can use community edition or professional version. This one I think you have to pay actual money for that. The community edition is free. You can download it for free, and I'll show you simply how it looks like. So this is after you install it, this is how it looks like on Burp Suite. So so I'll only like since I have a time gap here, I'll explain some of the features in here that you can do. So I'm not going to show you like the entire process of how I actually use web, because we already covered it on one of our previous sessions. So you can visit our Bug Zero YouTube channel and view that walkthrough that I have done on the tabs in the burp. So how to use them to find bugs. So in only this case, I will only show you how we can find just a simple vulnerability, the one that I showed you, the SSRF issue. So I'll show you how to find it through burp. So just give me a second. I will set up my environment here. So so here you can see this is just a test website I got in from Portugal Web Academy. So to demonstrate this SSRF issue to you. So I'll first set up. Again, if you don't know how to set up all this, you can view our previous sessions. So I'll first visit this site and see if the burp is actually working. It's working. So if I go to one of these thing, and here you can see there's a feature to like select and you can see there's a post request is going in to the web server. So I first send this into a repeater tab, and then if I see this URL encoded string here, so instead of giving this external link, I'll give some localhost address, say admin. I already know where the actual issue is, so I'm only showing it to like to demonstrate the issue, the SSRF issue. So you can see now through this I can just send a request to localhost for this own server, localhost address. So through this, what I can do now is I can perform actions. So you can see in here, you can, if I go to render page here, it shows the admin panel. So you can see I was able to actually access the admin panel that is running on the local host of the website. So now there's a feature called delete. So if I go down here, then you can see there's a link to this. So now what I can do is just yeah, so Copy. I'll add here, delete. So this is a simple like a lab, so where you just need to find to do the specific task, and so yeah, so once you've done that, you can see it's solved. So to actually learn SSR these type of vulnerabilities, you can go to Portugal Web Academy, and then you can learn from there. So you can just go to Portugal Web Security. There's so many labs here that you can practice against so many other vulnerability classes here. So yeah, you can practice through that. Now I'll show you why this kind of important, the whole bug bounty, why it's just companies use it. So this is a hacker one. This is one of the major one of the biggest platform, and in here I'll show you some of the known companies that is using bug bounty. So you can see there's a GitLab, Reddit, Stripe, Shopify, and even Cloudflare is here. You can see still even the Cloudflare is, it's a like a firewall type of a thing, so it's like act as a firewall. So you can still see there's a vulnerabilities has been reported to Cloudflare as well. So, and there's a TikTok. There is other. Oh, there's this U.S. Department of Defense. So you can see these even U.S. Department of Defense is have a bug bounty program, and you can see there's 24,117 reports has been fixed. So you can see this even the US Department of Defense have vulnerabilities, even though it's just built like that security level. I mean, we can just understand how much security they might have, because they are really they need to actually have a really good security system. But even though there is so many reports has been reported by hackers, you can see this hackers is top hackers here is what has been found these issues. So you can see the importance here to use it. It does not matter, like we see, okay, 1 or 2% testing application is not really good in these days, because there's so many vulnerability classes and so much is getting disclosed, like discovered as we speak. So it's not good to like rely on just one team or just one person or some to like about security. So it's always good to have a bug bounty platform, create a bug bounty program for like to let other people to test. So you can see some of these reports. I think I'll show you, like there's an RCE on GitLab. So imagine there's no bug bounty program, and then he found then if attacker found this and then exploited this issue, this company could lost millions of dollars through this. So here you can see there's another one called IDO on Reddit, modify links of any user. And there are way more critical issues than here than just this. So if there is no way where to someone to report them, and then if someone if they want to earn money from that, then if they like sell it to let's say to another another large company organization, or to another some people who looking for those, and they can actually get money, but there's can be a legal issues. But through bug bounty programs, bug bounty platforms, this thing get reduced, this thing get actually eliminated, because there's no legal issues to test here, because these programs listed on the bug bounty platforms. and this the hackers getting paid for finding bugs, then organization is getting more and more secure. So over the years, I think if I go here, then you can see here there's so many reports has been resolved, and that's why it's good to have it, because now, because of so much is resolved, think about how many money that these hackers has saved for this company, and you can see this bounties has been paid. It's I think close to 2 million or something. So you can see, if among these so many critical vulnerabilities here, then if one of them get into a bad hand, they could not just 2 million, it could lead to like billions even. So yeah, that's why it's really good to have. So that's why I say it's just in Sri Lanka as well, there are so many companies uh, out there, and it's good to have like a frame or platform that actually testing. So that's why we do here. I think we have many programs here as well listed. So it's good to like let we have a like really good hackers as well. We testing these sort of issues. So listing on like interrogating with us is really good way to you to like secure your organization very well. So yeah, so this will prevent so many attacks that I think there's so many hacks has been happened on Sri Lanka, where because security is not that much concern in our country. That, I mean, I'm not saying not entirely, but in some ways we haven't like think about security that very well. So it's good to like think about security bit more depth in these days times. So thank you for you listening. So if you have any questions, I think we have done 3 minutes before our next session. So if you have any questions, you can ask them on the chat. So if we don't have any issues, we can move to the next session. We have Dr. Primal here. So I'll handle the session to Dr. Primal now.
Thank you, Visru. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I think this is probably the last session for a long series of workshop/sessions that we had since Monday. So it's I think it's a fitting end that we speak about responsibility and ethics in security as the last part, because I think we spent a week introducing notions of security. What is security? What does security mean for the different people? What does it entail? Um, uh, what does implementing security entails? Things like that. And then we also discuss about, I think, especially Isuru and Nipuna showed a bunch of tools that you can use to learn security, that you can use to learn bug bounties, which could be very helpful and handy in learning how, security, as well as doing security testing, which you can earn a pretty good amount through Bug0 or any other platform in the world. So I think we previously Buddhini talked about what is responsible disclosure, and then I briefly talked about it in the last few days as well. Um, security is one of those tools that you can use it for both good and bad. And then I think we are hearing enough stories, news articles, personal experience on how it could go bad. What people, how people are using this knowledge for malicious reasons, for hurt other people, for hurt organizations, for different sort of reasons. So I think it's about time that we need more people on the good side. I think bug bounty is one of those movements that sort of like gather people for good, and then empower them to do good, to fight the malicious people on the internet. I mean, having more bug hunters on the world than malicious people doesn't mean that it's not a win. It's not going to fix everything, but it's a win itself. That we are showing that there are more good than bad in the world. But it's also good for organizations to have more people behind them, protecting them, and then fighting the bad. But there are still cases where even with good intention, the line between good and bad is a line on the sand. So it could pretty easily wash us away, and then you could just cross it without knowing it. And then so I'm going to talk about things that you can do to make sure that you stays on the good side, not on the bad side. And then if something happens without your knowledge, what can you do to make sure that there won't be any repercussions. I think the biggest takeaway in security testing is that you can I think it is fair to say that even whether an organization like it or not, whether they want it or not, whether they want to admit it or not, there are a lot of people already poking at the organization's public websites, public endpoints, public surfaces. Could be a mobile app, it could be a website, email server, or cloud server, or anything that's publicly accessible. There are hundreds of people probably looking at all of them at once. Some may be trying to learn, some may be trying to do damage, some may be just scraping the internet for research, so many reasons. So these organizations wanted to know there are people looking at it. So I think it's fair to say that there'll be people looking at their sites for good, with good intent, with helping them. But the responsible disclosure says that you can stumble upon a vulnerability, you can stumble upon a security issue on a public system, and then what you should do, right? There are a lot of options. I think I'm not going to talk about the options that a bad entity would take, but I'm going to tell you that the best option, whenever, as soon as you stumble upon, as soon as you find there is a security bug in one of the systems that you either work with, that you intentionally test, the first thing that you should do is contact that organization. If they have a vulnerability disclosure program, contact them through that. If they have a bug bounty program, submit a report. If they don't have a bug bounty program, if they don't have vulnerability disclosure program, I would highly recommend talking to the admin, emailing them, just letting them know that you found a vulnerability, and then in that email, be cooperative. Don't make it look like it's like a threat, like a ransom, that I found this vulnerability, that now you have to pay me or something like that. Be cooperative. These things happens all the time. I would say 99% time of the time percent of the time that these vulnerabilities are there mistakenly. So be nice to them, and then help them as much as possible. Help them to validate it. Help them to in the email. Tell them this is how you stumble upon it. And then from your side, I think the biggest sort of part, the step that you should not take is that when you find the vulnerability, do not go and exploit it. Do not go and exploit that vulnerability. Use that security issue to further access into the system. That's a no-no. Like, you never should do that, because as soon as you do that, that sort of push you over to the gray area where whether it questions whether your intention. An organization, whether you were working with a good intention, from the organization perspective, it sort of creates a threat that whether you had access to the real sensitive data, whether you had access to something else, it becomes all messy, and then you have lesser legal protection if you actually use the security vulnerability to sort of further access into the system. So don't do that. So as soon as you find the vulnerability, just report it. And then if the organization doesn't reply back, each country has a CERT, Computer Emergency and Response Team. In Sri Lanka, we have SL CERT, and then report to them. Tell them the system that you found the vulnerability. Tell them that you have found it. Tell them that you've already contacted the admins. You didn't hear them back. So and then when you first contact the admin, give them like some time. Like don't expect them to respond to you within a week, within a day, or within an hour. Give them a couple of weeks, and then maybe ping them again. And then if there is nothing, then you can go to SSR. And then the responsible disclosure says is, and this is, mind you, it is an ethics in North America, not a legal regulation, not a legal cover, that you once you report it to the organization, you have like 6 months, and after 6 months that you can go public. But I would not encourage you unless you know the law specifically. So I would still say wait until they all respond. Please do not go public without any vulnerability. Even though an organization might not reply you for your initial request, they might have a legal sort of a reply response if you go into public with the vulnerability. So you don't want to get into that trouble. So it is so the responsible disclosure, it entails two main things. The first one is that do not ever exploit a security vulnerability that you find. We've taught you a lot of tools. You can use there are a lot of tools. There are hundreds of really effective tools to find vulnerabilities. So you can find vulnerabilities, but do not exploit it. Do not use the vulnerability to sort of further cause harm. And then the second step of responsible disclosure is that always contact the organization first. After your knowledge, it should be the organization that owns the system that should get to know about it. And then always, I think it's needless to say that when you are testing, do not do any irreversible damage. Access any sensitive data. Do any physical harm to any network equipments or anything else. That will very clearly put you into the dark side, and then there will be legal repercussions. And then informed consent means that if you want to test a system, and then if they don't have a bug bounty program, there is always an opportunity. You can contact them and ask them nicely that you want to test them. Well, the chances are most of the time they would say no. So don't do that after that. But this is something that I encourage. But as long as you don't exploit anything, and then as long as you report to them the first time, it's fine. But do not do something like DDoS or like anything that would force the system to go down. Um, Even if they are on a bug bounty program, that doing DDoS or anything significant that would interrupt the day-to-day execution of those systems is it's prohibited. You could get into legal problems. And as I said before, it doesn't have real data, then yeah, you're free to go and then do whatever you want. But do not play with any actual data. Do not play with any system. I mean, the one of the most common thing that bug hunters do that I've seen is that they first create accounts, and then they push their own data, and then they try to test it whether they can access it. It's still like trying to exploit it. But as long as it's your own data that you are trying to play with it, that's fine. But it's still real data, so it's a pretty gray area. But as long as you're not accessing anything critical or anything sensitive, I would say that's pretty much that's okay. And I mean, so, and then I think that would say that cover the ethics part of security. And then and another thing with informed consent is that if you are playing with systems, if you are playing with humans, like if you want to do social engineering and send out spam, don't do that. Please do not involve any real human in your testing. If you do, please get informed consent. What does informed consent mean? That there is consent and there is informed consent. So for an example, when you install an app or when you create an account, most of the time they will say that, oh, they will present you terms and agreements. And then I mean, I haven't, in all of my 30 plus years, that I haven't read any of those terms and conditions, even though I do research them for a living. So it's very unlikely that many of us have read terms and conditions. But you do say agree, right? So that's consent. Means that you are agreeing, but you don't have a full picture, that you don't completely understand what you are agreeing to. That's consent. I mean, especially in the US law, that doesn't actually constitute proper consent. It should be informed consent. The informed consent means that whoever agreeing to terms and conditions, they should have a pretty clear picture of what they are agreeing to. After they agree, what they should expect. I mean, it's like, when you install an app, you have no idea what the app is going to do, what sort of data they access, who they are sharing with, right? But you still consent to, installing the app, but you have no idea. So that's consent, but that's not informed consent. So when you're doing testing, if you ever want to involve a real human, you should get informed consent that specifically tell them what you're doing. If there is any harm or anything, a likely harm, like clear chance of a harm, you should tell them. And then so that constitutes informed consent. Um, I think I've um, mm, pretty much covered most of it, and I'm pretty sure Vishwa, Isuru, Nipuna, Buddhini, they all sort of touched upon this one way or the another. I myself might have mentioned this before in the series. Um, so there are a few myths that we should debunk. I think the first one is there is no perfectly well secured system. Period. Uh, there is nothing. So I mean, it's always an arms race. I did talked about economics of security before. It's all about increasing the cost of hacking your organization, hacking you. And then depending on your threat actor, they might somehow figure out a way to breach you. If it is a nation state, the likely chances they are very highly resourced, they have all sort of funding and then bandwidth, so they might eventually hack you. But the best that you can do is to delay it or to increase the cost. So increasing the cost, that you are discouraging a huge percentage of threat actors, so that will reduce the chances of you getting hacked significantly. That's the best that you can do. That's why we keep on telling, do the testing, fix the vulnerabilities as much as possible. Implement proper visibility tools, monitor your network, monitor your if you are in a position, use threat intel tools to sort of figure out what's going on, and then what are the likely chances. That's the best you can do. That's an arms race. This is an arms race. So um, the defense will learn about new techniques, and then after a while the bad people will learn about how to break them, and then defense will figure out something else. It's a moving process, and then it's an arms race. So never rest, never think that okay, you've done enough, that system is secure. That's from that moment, that's the moment you start losing your system. So always test, always keep on the edge, and then but that doesn't guarantee that you will be secure 100% of the time, but that'll at least guarantee you that you're secure 99% of the time. And then if you're lucky, the 1% won't will not come ever. And then security is no longer a tech field, no longer it's a scientist, it's a science. But you don't have to be a computer scientist or have fancy degrees. You can learn it. You do have to learn it though. This doesn't mean that you graduate from the high school, now you are a security expert. It doesn't work like that. You have to spend time. You have to learn the tools. You have to learn the concepts. But what I'm saying is that to learn the concept and learn the tools, you don't have to have a fancy computer science degree. And then, I mean, one thing that I've seen in certain cases is that when you're learning by yourself, you need to make sure that you learn the full picture, right? I mean, you need to understand that security it's no longer a technical domain or technical area. It's a socio-technical domain where there is a huge social impact, there is a huge human side of it. So when you tell people that there are tools that fix the tools, there are tools that to monitor, you need to understand what are the you need to understand the full picture. You need to tell them, like, this is the human side. These are the cases that it goes wrong, right? And then when you tell people that, these are, you should do these things, you should, I can tell you, I can, talk about how developers should write secure code for like a day. But that doesn't mean that people who are listening are going to go back and start writing secure code. It's a little bit more complicated. They need help. They need more training. They need tools. They need tools to tell them, like, okay, this is wrong. This is bad. They need to tell them. We need to tell them. We need to give help. So it's a so things like that. So when you learn security, please learn the full picture. And then just because you see something, that you read something on the blog, that you hear something on the podcast, do not believe it. There are a lot of misinformation happening. Like probably half of the stuff that you learn on the blogs, on the web, on the podcasts are absolutely wrong. So read a lot, but you can do it. I mean, you don't need to have. I mean, this happens in the degrees as well. So read a lot. There are a lot of good sources. I think we've covered a lot of sources. ISRO and Nipuna Vishwa, Buddhini, they all touched upon sources of security that knowledge that you can gain. So read a lot, and then I mean I might be biased since I'm an academic, but when you read security, there are really good security conferences that happens every year. IEEE security and privacy is one, Usenix security is one, ACMCCS is one, NDSS security is one, network distributed systems and security, that's one good conference. There's a conference called PETS, privacy enhancing technology. There is one called financial cryptography, FC. There is something called SUPS, Symposium on Usable. Okay, I can't remember the full name for that. There's another one called SUPS. It's a Usenix SUPS that usually collocate with Usenix security. So there are really good conferences. The reason why I'm telling this is these papers, it's ridiculously hard to get into these conferences. So it's going through a very tough review process, which I'm not saying is perfect, but the chances of you reading something bogus there is almost zero. And then the people who review them are really knowledgeable. And then these are academic, so they don't have any ulterior motives or financial incentive of either rejecting or accepting a paper. There are a lot of second, third tier, fourth tier, like low tier conferences which will publish anything, so be aware of them. But when you read a security paper, that you will see a huge difference from reading a blog or listening to a podcast. Because in a research paper, a top tier research paper should cover all the basics, should cover all sort of angles. If not, the reviewing process will highlight them and they make them to do it before it get accepted. So you will learn all of it. And then, so, I mean, you don't have to have most of these, like, I think all of these papers are in English. So I think the only pre-requirement is that, you need to sort of understand basic English. And then most of the time they have videos, they have, authors have their own sort of like, other ways of communicating the message. So, read those papers, you will learn a lot. Especially, you will learn a lot on the full holistic a picture of security. What does it mean? And then I know it's like now it's like a crazy mania that everyone does a lot of security certificates. I mean, it's not only on security, like everything. I mean, it's fine. It's fine to do those things. You will learn something, but do not rely on them. And then you don't need to have, I mean, for bug hunting, you don't really need anything. You can just start learning, and then by doing this stuff, you will learn a lot. And then, another reason why I keep on telling that people need to have a holistic view is that there is a pretty big myth that blockchain will fix security, which is an absolute lie. It does not. It's a marketing tool. It's good for certain use cases, but not for everything. It's like if you look at the use cases people are trying on blockchain, out of that probably only 5% is actually good for blockchain. So this is the reason why people are so blinded. Like they sell everything that they see on internet, and then if you look at them, if you talk to them, they don't pretty much understand what they're selling, or they don't understand the other side of it, because they are just blindsided on fixated on one thing. And then security moving forward, that machine learning is another thing like blockchain. Everyone wants to learn machine learning. Everyone wants to be expert in machine learning. I mean, it is fine. I mean, that's why machine learning is awesome. I mean, there are a lot of really good use cases of machine learning, but just because a tool has machine learning doesn't mean that it's good. And then it doesn't mean that it's going to fix security issues. Like people are talking about using machine learning to reduce noise on SOC, how to be efficient at event reporting, how to sort of help. And then, I mean, there are good use cases like that. So I am one of those people who thinks that machine learning should never replace human, but complement, help the human to be better at it. So, and then there are enough research to show that, completely tool-based vulnerability detection is good. They'll find a lot of vulnerabilities, probably more than what a human can do. But if you look at the critical vulnerabilities, they pretty much comes from the human, not from the tools. So it's really important that this is why I'm telling you that, these things, these holistic ideas, if there is a blog machine promoting blockchain or machine learning, they won't tell you the downside. Very unlikely that they will tell you the downside. They will tell you all the positive sides. So, but you can educate yourself, go around and learn these things. That's why I tell you, learn research papers, read research papers. There are a lot of good academic researchers around the world that educate people on the holistic side, educate people what it is, be follow them, listen to their talks, so you can learn a lot. So I think I think this is probably marked the end of a week-long session. How can you contribute? How can you enroll? How can you get exposure? Talk to us. I think support@bugzero.io, email us. We are there to help you. We are there to guide you. We are there to sort of push you to the right direction, show you content. We have a lot of contents by ourselves. So, I mean, it's free. You are only going to gain money, not you're going to spend anything on us. So, be a responsible citizen. We need a lot more people on the good side. And then, if you are an organization, talk to us. Talk to us to see how much we can help you. There are free options. If you are a startup, we will do it to you for free. You don't have to spend anything on your security assessment. But you have an organization like a corporation we are working with. We have so far given them a free time period for free testing, and then once as an organization, and then as a Bug0, we sort of figure out what's the best way to move forward. We can talk about how to keep on helping you. So I think as the last speaker, I should take this opportunity to thank all the speakers. Vishwa, Isuru, Nipuna, Buddhini. They are all one way or another connected to Bug0. Nipuna is one of the co-founders. And then I thank them a lot. I appreciate the time that they've spent. They've prepared a lot. Hey, it's not only figuring out how to put content on a slide deck. It's about how to communicate it correctly. What's the audience? So they've actually spent a lot of time. So I thank them. And then I think I must thank all the participants. I think we've had more than 200 plus participants directly through Zoom links, and then watching a live stream. So I thank them. I really wish you learned something. If there are anything that you want us to clarify, please do not hesitate to contact us. And then lastly, I must thank ICTA. I think they've done a great job putting up the GW It's not an easy task, especially given the current climate in Sri Lanka. But they've outdone themselves. I would say it's an exceedingly a successful event. And then as Bug Zero, we really like to we are the corporate sponsor for the event in Sri Lanka. We do hope to keep on collaborating with them, taking the ecosystem of startups to the next level, and then making sure security is properly addressed across the board. So thank you, everyone. Thank you if you are listening to us. Thank you if you have watched us over YouTube and keep on watching us. And then but the best way that you can help us is, be a bug hunter, and then, involve in the ecosystem, learn about it, help us to help you. And as an organization, come talk to us, build a vibrant security ecosystem in Sri Lanka. Thank you. Isru?
Yes, yes, Dr. Kumar. So let's thank you all you for your, to joining us today.
Also, we
And,
need to
yeah.
if they have any questions. I'm sorry, I completely forgot it. I know there are a few people left. Do you have any questions? You can just type it here on the chat. Okay, I think it's time.
Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we will end this session now. So yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So we also forgot to mention